So when you're learning how to grow hydroponically, you may have come across information on the internet which makes it seem like you need to be exact on many different things such as pH, EC, water temperature in order to be successful. And one of the things I found in this grow in particular, I've been pushing the boundaries a little bit and seeing what I can get away with. So in this video, I wanted to go over some of the things that I found that you don't actually need to be exact in order to be successful. So here I have a deep water culture bucket. This is the hydro bucket. Let me put on my glasses so I'm not getting blinded by the light here. This is the hydro bucket and it holds 3.5 gallons of water or nutrient solution. Any more than that and it kind of hits the net pot. So 3.5 is what it's advised by the manufacturer. I've been using this. This is actually my second grow using this and things have been working out very well. Now, one of the things I want to start off talking about is topping off. Generally, what I've learned is that you always want to keep the water level high in the sense to where it should basically be at that 3.5 gallons that the manufacturer recommends throughout the entire grow cycle. Now, I actually went away on a long weekend. I wasn't able to actually top off. I had nobody here that was able to manage the system while I was gone. So I was away for, I believe, 4 days, if I remember correctly. And one thing I found out is it dropped down quite a bit. It dropped down, the water level dropped down to less than half. And I looked at the plant and it looked fine. It really made me wonder, what can I get away with? And so I actually continued to let the plant just uptake the water and the water level reduce. I actually let it reduce all the way down to when there had to have been maybe a half a gallon, maybe even less than a half a gallon of water nutrient solution in the bottom there. And I looked up and the plant's fine. It's completely fine. Then I went ahead and changed out the reservoir, topped it back off, but I've been continuing to let it drop down over time for the past month and a half. And the plant looks fantastic. So oftentimes what I've seen in videos and what I've read online is that you always want to be topped off. However, it seems like there's some folks that are doing it the way I just explained, which is letting the water level drop down. And I'd love to know in the comment section below, which way do you go about it? Do you top off every time to where you're adding in water or nutrient solution to where you're keeping it at a high water level and of course aiming for a certain EC? Or do you let it drop down and then fill it up once it's towards the bottom? Let me know. Another thing I've come to find out is, and this may be elementary for some of you, but I can get away with a half dose of nutrients throughout the entire grow cycle. So oftentimes what I've read is, hey, stick to the manufacturer's recommendation, full dose according to the feeding chart. Now, not all nutrient lines are created equal, right? They're all different. But what I'm using this time around is Athena nutrients. And I'm able to get away with a half dose of nutrients here in flowering. We're on day 36 of the flowering stage, and I'm doing a half dose of their nutrients, the Bloom A, Bloom B, PK, CalMag, and Cleanse. And just doing a half dose, I'm getting about 675 ppm. That's a 500 scale TDS tester, and that's at about 1.3, 1.4 EC if I'm not mistaken. Now I know a lot of people who will go 2.0 EC, 3.0 EC in mid-flowering towards late flowering stage, and I'm able to get away with half of that. So that's another thing that I feel like, I would say is kind of a misconception, or things you can get away with not doing a full dose of nutrients, but instead going to a half dose. Now, even with a half dose of nutrients, I'm seeing a little bit of tip burn. Now, tip burn or nutrient burn is not really detrimental to the plant. What I'm also looking for is to see if there's any signs of toxicity. Nitrogen toxicity is one of the most common things. Very dark green leaves, like a forest green, shiny, curling. Those are all bad signs, especially when you're in the flowering stage. I'm not seeing any of that. And I'm not seeing any signs of deficiencies as well, even going with a half dose. So figure I mentioned that one. That's another thing I'd love to know in the comment section below. What do you do for dosage when you're running DWC? Now moving on to the next one I want to talk about in this video, pH drift. Now this is something that is often seen as a bad thing. pH drifting upwards. You hear a lot of people using it because they have air stones in there, or maybe there's sediment coming from the clay pebbles that are on top. If you don't rinse those, some of those can get in there. That's one thing I've learned, and that could potentially raise the pH. But pH drift isn't necessarily a bad thing, is something I've learned. And this kind of goes back to me leaving for a long weekend, for example, not being able to manage pH. Because before, what I was doing is I was aiming for 5.8 pH the entire time. And I'd come in here, check it every single day, and then I would adjust if needed. As it's drifting up, I'd knock it back down, and then really try to fine tune into that one particular pH. Now, come to find out, starting at a lower pH, anywhere between like 5.5 to 5.8 pH, and then letting it drift up over the period of a week. So it's up to maybe 6.2 up to 6.5 at the maximum is actually an okay thing, is what I've come to find out. Plant growth has been completely fine. And I've actually talked to an expert recently for my Garden Talk podcast. Not sure if it's going to be released by the time this video is released or not, but the owner of Current Culture H2O had a great conversation with him. And that's one thing he mentioned was the pH drift. It's okay if the pH starts at the 5.5 or 5.8, something lower, and slowly drifts up over the matter of the week. Again, I've been seeing the plant growth has been just fine. I haven't seen any adverse effects from it. This is just one instance here. I've been doing this for about a month and a half, so I'm certainly no expert when it comes to this, but this is just what I'm finding out in this grow. This is just my observation in this grow. Another thing I'd love to know in the comment section below, so let me know if you experience pH drift and if you're actively managing it to try to stay in at a certain pH, or if you're just letting it drift up casually and don't really have a concern about that drift happening. Also, let's talk about reservoir changes. This is another thing where it's often said, hey, every 7 days, change the reservoir. Completely drain the reservoir and then add in a new nutrient solution. Now, sometimes that works pretty well if you're following a particular feeding chart to where it changes every single week. But some nutrient lineups, they're going to require the same nutrient mix for several weeks in a row. So what I found out is that I'm able to get away with not doing a reservoir change every 7 days, every 10 days, every 14 days. I've actually pushed a little bit longer than that, every 17 days doing a reservoir change, and I haven't seen any adverse effects. So that's another thing I definitely wanted to mention. Now, another thing you guys have seen me do in the past is the frozen water bottle hack. Right, so I live in a very hot climate, and oftentimes the water temperature rises up, and the higher the water temperature is, the less dissolved oxygen. So you could see issues, and also it opens up pathogen pressure. What my water temperature naturally rises up to is high 70s, even to the low 80s as well. And that's often said as being very bad. You usually want to be around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 68 degrees Fahrenheit is even better than that for a water temperature. And so I was always adding in that frozen water bottle every single day, sometimes twice a day, adding in a frozen water bottle to take the temperature from that high 70s, low 80s down to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, when I left for that long weekend, I wasn't doing the frozen water bottle, right? So my water temperature went up and kind of stayed at that higher degrees. And come to find out, the plant is looking fine even under that, and I'm not seeing any sort of slime, or it doesn't seem like that there's any pathogen pressure to where the plant is negatively impacted. So I've actually been able to get away this past month not doing the frozen water bottles in there. And sure, like I mentioned, the water just kind of drains down as the time goes on. And then when I'm adding that new water, that is of around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So the water temperature is eventually being corrected, but over the period of a week or so, with the nutrient solutions in there, the water temperature is going up and it's kind of staying in there as it's draining down. And when this is something that I've had people comment on my videos as I was going in there every day and showing the water temp and talking about the water temp and showing me putting frozen water bottles in there. I had a handful of folks out there that were like, you don't need to do that. You can get away with it being in the high 70s. Just make sure that the water is changed frequently. Every 7 to 14 days, whatever, right? So that's one thing I wanted to mention, and I really would love to know in the comments, again, how many times am I going to say it? In the comments, let me know your thoughts on that avenue. Water temperature. Is anybody out there also running a higher water temp, much higher than what is generally recommended? Let me know. And while we're on the topic of DWC, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, VivoSun. They actually have a deep water culture system that you can put in their smart box. I'm also running their lights, their fans, humidifier, the tent, all VivoSun. Big shout out to them. They actually hook up my viewers with a discount code as well. Use discount code MrGrow15. That works on both their website as well as Amazon. And I'll definitely have a link to their website and Amazon down in the YouTube description section below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.